Greetings collectors and welcome to today's retro game review. Today we're talking sports, in particular hockey, and there's no better place to start than EA Hockey for the Sega Mega Drive and Genesis, also known as NHL Hockey in North America. First of all, I have to clear up the term hockey for my UK audience. Here in Europe we call hockey played on ice hockey. If you usually ask a Brit about hockey, they assume you're talking about field hockey. For the purposes of this episode though, I will be referring to ice hockey as just hockey. North America, you win this round. Here in the UK, hockey really isn't a big deal. The sports pecking order of importance goes something like this. Football, that's soccer to the US audience, various athletics, rugby, tennis, cricket, cycling, dominoes, cow tipping, and explaining to lost tourists how to get to Buckingham Palace. Most Brits won't even be aware of the Great Britain team's hockey ranking, or even that we have citizens that can stand up on ice. There are a niche group of us though that do take an interest in the game. When I was a bit younger, I discovered the wonderful world of hockey through EA Hockey on the Sega Mega Drive. I had the double header with Madden Football, which is in no way football, thank you very much. There was something about the game of hockey that connected with me, the swirling players, the ice rink, the relative simplicity of the game. EA Hockey quickly became one of my favourite sports games of all time. So, let's take a look at the game. Firstly, the setup is a little awkward. Select from a regular season or playoffs. It's simple enough. Scrolling through the teams to select one is a little clunky. It's not particularly user-friendly, but this is only a minor complaint. Scrolling through the team list though is rather enlightening. It reminds us of how much has changed since 1991. Yugoslavia? Yep, that's gone. Oh, and this looks like a great matchup. Czechoslovakia versus the Soviet Union. That's just all kinds of wrong. Needless to say though, the tournament sets itself up with a decent tree structure. Oh look, Great Britain versus the USA. The game allows you to customise the period lengths, penalties and offside rules. For a novice to the sport, this was a great introduction. The action in EA Hockey is fast and frantic. You have a basic moveset of passes and shots to attack the opponent's goal. For what is essentially a very physical sport, it does seem to translate very well into a home console version. The audio department also seems to enhance the experience. Shots have a decent slapping sound and collisions with the glass feel full of impact. The roar of the crowd also mirrors the feel of an open arena. Of course, a hockey match wouldn't be a hockey match without the fights. Hit your opponent hard enough and there's a good chance that a fight may ensue. Weave backwards and forwards and throw either a low or high punch to down your opponent, as your teammates gather round to encourage the beatings. EA Hockey teaches us that Americans can take quite a few punches to the face. So, with the mighty US falling to Great Britain, it's on to the next round of playoffs. Oh good, Canada. Well, at least they go down with one punch. In the UK, you can pick up EA Hockey in a standard Sega Mega Drive case complete with manual and cartridge with relative ease. The artwork is somewhat generic, but it gets the job done. In terms of price, EA Hockey is about as cheap as you can get when you're collecting retro games. With sports games being revised every year, there tended to be a large amount of these produced and discarded. As such, you can pick up EA Hockey or NHL Hockey for next to nothing. So, EA Hockey, is it worth collecting? The Sega Mega Drive and Genesis did have a slew of sports games from EA. Each year the games were revised and refined, making them abundant and ultimately very cheap to collect. This original EA Hockey release is still more than playable, but the series did arguably offer better entries in the later years. Personally, as a Sega collector and being someone that enjoys the game, it's an easy decision to collect this title, and indeed the rest of the series. For the casual retro gamer though, you may want to pass on this one if sports games really aren't your thing. As always though, if you are curious about the game, for the price it's definitely worth a second look. I have fond memories of playing EA Hockey during the summer holidays, and I really can't imagine a childhood growing up without it. The game may now be several decades old, but it is at least still playable, and that's always the sign of a good retro game. The bottom line is that EA Hockey is a very well made sports game. This original version is still playable, but later on in the series it got even better. The game may be a bit of a hard sell for newer collectors, but for those of us that lived through the 16-bit era, I'm sure we can all agree this was a classic of its time. Hello again, I hope you enjoyed today's show and thank you for the view. Remember, you can always comment, like, subscribe and find us on the social media sites below. Happy collecting!